All right, time now for a very special interview here on Worldwide Exchange. You've heard the name, but may not realize just how big BNP Paribas really is. The French bank is the largest in the Eurozone by assets. It employs nearly 200,000 people in 70 countries and has 2.5 million clients, by the way. A huge retail presence in the United States. You may not know this, but BNP Paribas owns the Bank of the West and First Hawaiian Bank. And we are joined in a CNBC exclusive by the CEO of BNP Paribas USA, Jean-Yves Fillion. Mr. Fillion, thanks for joining us this morning. Good morning.
Bonjour. Thank you for having me. Bonjour.
All right. Well, we are going out literally worldwide, so you're going to be speaking to clients and investors all around the world, as we certainly do appreciate. And I want to ask you, though, because many of your compatriots in Europe have been pulling back from the United States. BNP Paribas made a decision a few years ago under your leadership and other leadership back in France to aggressively expand in the United States. How do you compete with rivals like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs?
Well, Brian, the U.S. banks are extremely strong, well capitalized, well managed, very liquid in the most competitive market in the world. The key success factor for an international bank in the United States is to be targeted with your clients, to be targeted with your product offering, and to really look for where your added value is. For BNP Paribas, but you said it very well already, we've grown organically, diversified platform, retail, wholesale. Retail brings the steadiness of revenues, the deposits, very liquid, and our CIB activity is really covering U.S. corporate clients, institutionals, domestically, probably as well as anybody else in the product suite we have here, but our sweet spot is when it's time to support them outside of the United States, 77 countries, 3 main regions, and it's been very good to us. The transatlantic dynamic, taking European clients or the trans-Pacific Asian clients into the deep US market has been very, very successful for us.
But why invest here when we've seen so many banks in Europe? And I'm not going to ask you to comment on their activity, but we know the names. Deutsche Bank is shrinking. Some of the bigger French banks, they've kind of pulled back. Why go the other way than so many other banks in Europe, Jean-Yves?
2 main reasons. The first one is this is the largest market in the world. Then as long as you can be targeted, you know what you do, you know where you go, this is a place to be. The second reason, which really is the first one, is to be where my clients want us to be. We have a lot of European clients, very invested in the United States. And by the way, the corporate America is becoming more and more global. And we've been so active in taking some of these large corporates into the European market where we lead.
Let's talk about emerging markets. You're in over 70 countries at BNP Paribas. You yourself have lived and worked around the world. Jamie Dimon, the other day, speaking exclusively to CNBC in India, made a comment about the emerging markets. I want you to listen and respond to Jamie Dimon.
I'm not really concerned. You know, you have, first of all, put Turkey and Argentina aside, where I think you have very serious issues. The rest of the emerging markets are actually doing quite well. And, you know, America's gotten stronger, the dollar's gotten stronger, but that's actually good for the world. The world is actually growing quite healthily. And so the emerging markets, it's more like a teething pain. And you're absolutely right, they're not all the same. I don't even think they should be called emerging markets anymore, to tell you the truth.
I think Dimon surprised many people, Jean-Yves, with those comments, sort of saying, yeah, we're fine. Do you agree with him?
Well, emerging markets, it's a very holistic definition. I think not every emerging market country is being built equal. There is one common feature, though. The Fed hiking, because of the strength of the economy here, is definitely impacting the ones who are indebted in US dollars. Having said that, I see a lot of them taking measures, working on their budgetary issues or protecting their currencies. And as the dollar potentially weakens over time, maybe it's a 19 or a 20 event, I think some of these countries will probably have a better chance to continue to thrive or recover.
We have a 3% 10-year yield. We've got some emerging markets rattling there. Are you surprised at the strength of the U.S. markets, given that we now exist in a 3% yield environment, which, by the way, a couple of years ago, people said we'll never get there and we can't struggle. We could never withstand it.
Well, I'm not surprised because I spent most of my time with clients and CEOs, and I see how actually active and well they do. Having said that, yes, the strength of this economy is amazing. The yield curve, listen, had we met here 5 years ago, we might have said it's a signal for a recession. I don't think this is the case here. I think it's really the flat yield curve we have today. It's a combination of factors. The short-term hand of this curve is really, pushed up by the Fed hiking and by abundant issuance of short-term treasuries. But the longer term shows that, long-term investors are a bit skeptical about the ability of this country to keep going at the same pace. That means it's going to be bad, but maybe not the same pace and speed.
Jean-Yves Fillion, CEO BNP Paribas USA. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.